Hey everyone, welcome back to my next video. I'm going to try and keep this one fairly short, and I'm basically going to talk about studying and drawing hands. But before we get into that, make sure that you subscribe, hit the like button, and of course switch notifications on for future content. It really helps me out a lot. So whilst I'm talking about this, I'm just going to be showing me sketching in the background and basically sketching what we're going to be talking about, which is drawing 60-second poses. So this can work with absolutely anything that you're studying, as long as it's not too complex to draw within 60 seconds, of course. But a lot of people do this kind of thing as a warm-up, so when it comes to like gesture drawing, I guess this is gesture drawing in a way, but for hands. It's a really good way just to warm up and also get yourself ready mentally to start your drawing. But I've been using this more of an exercise than a warm-up, or I guess a little bit of both, because after doing these 60-second ones, I do sometimes move on and do some that are a little bit longer, maybe a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, etc. And I got this thinking from an artist called Alex Negria. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, but I've mentioned him before on my channel. He has a course, or quite a few courses on Gumroad, and I will link them. They're only cheap and they are so good. Definitely the best money you'll ever spend as an artist. But without giving away too much of the content, he's basically telling you really good ways to study, good methods to use. And the one we're using here, as mentioned, is basically loading up image reference and drawing with a limit of 60 seconds. So it doesn't matter if you don't get that drawing done in time, you move on to the next one. But it has quite a lot of benefits to doing this, one of which is you can't stop and worry about rendering and things like that, which might not sound like a good thing, but the purpose of these is to study them and learn gesture and a little bit of anatomy, I guess, and build visual library, which is a huge one for me and most other artists. So really it forces you to focus on important aspects of, in this case, drawing the hand. So you don't have time to stop and assess it all properly. Again, it might sound like a disadvantage, but it actually is really effective. It also means you can get quite a lot of these drawn in a really short amount of time. So for example here, I'm managing, roughly speaking, I do about 15 per page. This is an A4 sketchbook. I'm just using a cheap sketchbook and a Pentel Mechanical 0.5 pencil. I'll stick links to that in the description box below just in case anyone is interested. But it's really irrelevant what you're using, whether you're working with pens, pencils, or on a digital tablet. Whatever works for you. So one of the things Alex actually talks about is that if you're doing a lot of these every day, and as mentioned, they don't take long, so you can do a lot of them, you will start to build a visual library for one, which basically means you'll eventually be able to draw without reference. This is a huge thing for artists. That's almost the ultimate goal, I guess, for most of us. Because if you've ever tried it, if you're not a very advanced artist already, it really feels impossible. You realise just how much you rely on reference. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But wouldn't it be great not to need it all the time? So first of all, the more hands you draw, the more you will have built this library in your head. But on top of that, we've already mentioned that the fact that these are quick means you have to focus on the important elements. So you can't overthink it too much, which is something I do a lot. But on top of that, the more of these that you do draw, you start to notice patterns. Even if you're not consciously thinking about, the proportions of this and this, you will start to pick up on things. So for example, where certain creases and bones are in the hand in this case, you'll start seeing them repeated from certain angles, etc. and it'll eventually start to click. One of the things recommended though is to keep at this consistently every day. So you don't have to do it every day forever. The artist himself is quite well known for doing, I can't remember, 2,000 hands in a month, for example. Now that is really extreme. I could not do that. I'm doing 2 pages a day, so 30 hands. And at a minute each, that's only half an hour, but you don't even have to do that. But yeah, the more you do and the longer you do it, obviously it's going to become even more consistent, but you don't want to lose that flow, so stick at it where you can. There are some really good exercises though for building a visual library and working without reference. And I've been using quite a few different methods in this sketchbook of studying hands. But for this video, I just wanted to focus on the 60-second drawings and the benefit to them. So another thing to note is I'm not saying doing this means you don't have to study or do any longer drawings. Everything has its place, but this is really effective and you'll probably surprise yourself quite soon at how good your gesture and your proportions become after not too long. So I would say I wasn't too impressed with the ones I did on camera here, but if you'd have seen my hand drawings from a couple of weeks back, I think it's pretty fair to say they've improved and they're quite recognisable as hands. And to be honest, whilst they're not great, for 60 seconds, they're not bad. They're recognisable. But yeah, I would still recommend doing some studying. So before doing all this with hands, for example, I'd studied from books and courses the proportions of the hands, the finger length compared to the hand itself, the movement, how to put them down into basic shapes, etc, etc. You don't have to go too extreme, but once you know those things, you can then put them into practice with this method. I think we can pretty much leave it at that. If you do want to see more of my artwork, even if it's just a little bit of a sketch dump like these, make sure you check out my art on social media. I've filled about 70 sheets of a 100 sheet sketchbook here over the last few weeks with this. So I'd love to do more videos on drawing hands in the future. I've really enjoyed studying them here. Not just the 60-second drawings, but certain memory challenges and specific ways of studying that I'm finding quite effective and can be applied to other areas as well. As well as that, I'd like to do a sketchbook tour of this one once I've filled 100 sheets. I don't know whether that'll be interesting for you guys or whether it'll be boring. You'll have to let me know. Aside from that, again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and switch notifications on. It really helps me out. But yeah, thanks for watching.